Well, hello all, and thank you everyone for joining. Nice to have you here this afternoon. This afternoon, we're presenting to you on the topic of reimagining student, staff, and research surveys with BlueX. I'd particularly like to welcome institutions that are joining. I see many are joining from Southeast Asia, so welcome to this session. Uh, some of you are not currently Explorance customers, so we welcome you as well. And of course, to our regular customers, thank you for being here. So what we're here to talk to you about today is a problem that many of you have been sharing with us for a while, and that is that you have many different types of surveys being proliferated across your institution. And that's contributing to things such as survey fatigue, difficulty obtaining response rates, and the real challenge is around decentralized surveys. So as you know, at Explorance, we have a tool called BlueX, and that is what we will present to you today, a platform for decentralized survey. Uh, by way of introduction, I'm Tim Brennan, General Manager of Explorance Asia Pacific. I'm joined by my colleague today, Arjun Chatterjee, who's our Solutions Engineer. Arjun will be going into the more technical aspects of this demonstration, showing you the BlueX interface. Just before we do that, as I said, a number of you are not already associated with us at Explorance. So I'd like to jump into a little bit of background about Explorance. So uh, some of you may be aware that we've been in this field for over 20 years now, specifically in the feedback analytics arena. And we were founded in 2003 at Explorance. We're headquartered out of Montreal, and I run Asia Pacific based out of Melbourne here in Australia. And you can see there we've got a number of different locations on screen. Throughout all those different global locations, we are able to service our customers 24/7. A point of difference with Explorance is that our customer support is 24/7 available, and throughout those regions, or because we have those regions, we are able to meet you in your time zone. So no matter whenever there is an issue, our staff are able to assist. And I should point out also that, as I say, our staff in customer support are our staff. They're not external to Explorance. They're not third-party providers. Something that we pride ourselves on is our customer retention rate at Explorance. And so throughout this region, we're able to maintain around about a 99% renewal rate. Now, that's really important because it means that we are very closely connected to you. To be able to connect with you and understand the challenges at your institutions, that helps us inform our product suite. And in informing our product suite, that gives you the features that you need. So, always happy to collaborate with you. We work with over about 800 organizations globally. Uh, you can see there the stats on the screen pertaining to the amount of customers we have in Asia and Asia Pacific region. So next, these are some of our customers who you'd be very familiar with in this region. So specifically, as I said today, we're wanting to speak to you about decentralized surveying. We know it's already happening across institutions, and it wasn't necessarily by design intent. It's just one of those things that's evolved. So what does decentralized surveying look like? Well, it might mean that your research teams are doing their own individual research pieces for their own purposes. So your academics conducting research where they need some data for their projects. You also have within teaching and learning, trying to get feedback from students around different events that are occurring across the institution. So be that formative feedback that's happening in the classroom to help improve the delivery of courses and programs, or whether it's about making some interventions, some in-the-moment interventions to improve the student experience. We know there's lots of ad hoc surveys that go out about those things. And further to that, of course, you have campus life and facilities who might also be asking questions, be it about, the library services or internet across the campus, or be it even the enrollment process. So there are lots of needs for touch points and for data across your institutions. But in decentralizing these surveys and without a particular governance framework, it can result in a challenge for the university. And that challenge is that there is no control over questionnaire design. There is no control over the privacy and policy settings that are governed by the university or should be governed by the university. And furthermore, there's also a burden on your budgets because what it means is there are many platforms in operation in the university and where there need not be. So, what's the real cost of uncontrolled survey access? So there are these points around budget sprawl, which I just touched on there. So, as you'd be aware, multiple tools, multiple costs. In particular with privacy, just drilling down on that a little bit further, at least within this region, there are some requirements that you'll have to meet with regards to data that you're collecting and how that is handled. When a survey is offered in a decentralized way, not all of your stakeholders might be aware of those compliance issues, and so central governance is required. There can also be an issue that you've alerted us to around inconsistent metrics and trust. So what happens when two parts of a university ask the same question in a different way and get different results? The issue then is there then becomes a trust issue. People don't trust the data because it's giving you two different answers. And of course, survey fatigue. So the more surveys that are out there, the less control that there is, the more that has an impact on your response rates. So there is a way that we can address all of these challenges that you've shared with us, and that's within our tool called BlueX. And Arjuman's going to present to you a little bit more about that now. Thank you.
Thanks, Tim. And good day, everyone. Good afternoon. So some of you might be familiar with BlueX, but for those of you who are new and don't know about BlueX, so what is it and how does it address what Tim just spoke about just now? Well, at its core, BlueX is a governed self-service listening platform. So what I want to unpack what that means a little bit because I think it goes beyond what we normally associate a survey tool with. So BlueX supports a full range of ways your campus needs to collect feedback and insights. So it's not just a traditional way of how you run online surveys. Things like you can build and run research studies, student services studies, request and intake forms, consent workflows. You can also have interactive newsletters for in-class participation with your students, blogs embedded with questions inside, QR code-based feedback collection forms for events and physical spaces that you are currently doing workshop events potentially. So that's a much broader surface than what most institutions using BlueX use a survey tool for today. So what makes it a little bit different from the regular competition? Well, it's the governance layer that's already built into the platform by design. So authors work within permissions and guardrails and structures that you, the administrators, define. So surveys can be routed through approval workflows before they go out to the wider population. And all of that happens within the platform that's familiar enough for most people that can get started with it without really any significant training. And critically, not just for your institutional research team or for your IT departments, this is for your researchers, instructors, professional staff, students, that you can all author surveys within BlueX within guardrails that you set for each of these different stakeholders that you have. And that's the main shift that we're trying to both accommodate and work with within BlueX. we want to create, so instead of having central teams that are trying to gatekeep every survey and you send in requests, you're now giving the people the tools to do it themselves within a structure that actually protects the institution overall. So a little bit about what makes BlueX different, as you can see on your screen here. So if you've used any sort of Microsoft or Word document forms, the UI will be a familiar and intuitive experience for all of you, and we'll come into that in the demonstration aspect. We try to employ a little bit of a different way in how you build this. So we use a drag and drop builder. You have multiple logic that you can route different aspects. So instead of having something that every choice or scale option, you can have it based on choices that actually the students or any of your participants make, and you can route different surveys for different sets of stakeholders attending the event. As I mentioned briefly, data privacy and institutional branding can be done by default. You can also have institutionally branded templates pre-available for all of your stakeholders, so they can just begin with their questionnaire without really worrying about the design too much. You can also reuse and remix templates across different teams, departments. You can set up workspaces for various teams to collaborate on individual surveys, or you can have individual access for each profile that they can create their own surveys as well. And of course, with the new survey environment, it's mobile first and accessible. BlueX is WCAG 2.2 AA compliant and certified. So it meets the highest grade of accessibility standards, which complies with screen readers, visual and audio cues for anyone using those tools. Now, a little bit of a difference here. So for those of you who are already Blue customers, I want to address this question directly, right? Where does Blue End and BlueX begin? And do I need both? Well, the honest answer is yes, because they're designed to work together and not compete against each other. Blue is a purpose-built platform for your formal institutionally governed course evaluation programs. So the ones that have to run on a defined schedule, produce consistent longitudinal analysis or data, feed into your academics governance processes, meet specific institutional reporting requirements. Blue is very good at that, and BlueX doesn't try to replace any of that. BlueX, however, covers everything else, right? So from research, independent research studies, student services, operational feedback, instructor-led formative feedback, support surveys or forms, intake workflows, event-based workflows. All of these are legitimate listening needs that happens across your campuses today, and that doesn't belong across your course evaluation systems per se. So in short, Blue governs your official voice of the student programs that you run, and BlueX governs everything else. And in doing so, it removes the pressure from people to improvise with uncontrolled tools because there's no governed alternative available to them. Now, I wanted to create a little bit of a difference between both and what BlueX really does. So if your platform requires 3 hours of training before someone can actually build a basic survey, most of your intended author population will find a different workaround. And that workaround is exactly the shadow tool problem that we have, where you have uncontrolled access for various survey tools and people using different survey tools to collect data. So BlueX is built for 2 author populations at once. One for the majority of authors, so things like, or people like your professional staff, your instructors, your students running peer feedback, for example. You get template-driven starting points for a common program. You have clean visual builders that doesn't require any technical background. You can preview all of your questionnaires before they go out. Quality assurance for all of the different logic and branching methods that you potentially might use in your survey design. And you can also collaborate with all of your colleagues or even your peers when needed. And most people can get a published survey within an hour of first touching the platform. But for advanced authors, specifically researchers who need complex instruments, assessment specialists running longitudinal analysis, you get branching, piping, randomization, reporting sections. And on the roadmap, you have samplings and quota support, custom math equation support, uh, quantitative analysis using Milli. So you have a lot of different tools for a quantitative research context. Your third-party questionnaire input is also listed as a tentative roadmap item as well, which would significantly lower the barrier for your research teams bringing in validated reporting instruments that they previously have been using. But neither group has to compromise what they have. Your everyday users aren't going to be overwhelmed with the complexity and that they don't need, and your power users aren't artificially capped by a tool that was designed for a simple or simpler users in mind, which we'll come to when we get to the interface aspects of it, which is next. So I'll do a little bit of a showcase of the interface, your governance tools, and also some survey examples of how we can do it. So over the next 10 minutes or so, we're going to look at all these three aspects, and we'll cover some survey examples and connect back to the use cases we've been discussing this afternoon. So going into the system, first, I want to just introduce you to the homepage that you get. Now, if you're an administrator of the aspect, you get a couple of different functions, mainly being the account management aspect, and also customizing your interface with system webhooks. So you can customize it with third-party applications. So you can trigger surveys based on flags or things like that on different platforms that you have. From an account management perspective, you can come into the system administration and really granularize your role-based access that you want. So I mentioned, you might have different points of contact or different abilities for your students to see and research, and then you have different abilities for your professional staff, your researchers. All of this can be controlled within groups, right? So if I create a group here, and I'll just put it as test, I won't put in any users. What you will see here is you have this privileges section, which if I can click into this and I can assign privileges, it will give you all these different aspects of what you want this group of users to do in terms of, do you want them to have webhook access, survey authoring? Do these survey authors need approval from their manager, for example? All of these things from a granular aspect in terms of the actions they can do, you can control it. So different groups, different stakeholders, different viewers can have different privileges attached to them. So no one is getting too much of the aspect. So it's centrally governed, but also decentralized in the way that they build these surveys. Now, being a survey tool itself, I wanted to show you a little bit about the interface. So this is an example survey that I have created. Now, I won't go into detail about how I've created it, but I want to get you familiarized with the interface a little bit. So as you can see from my screen, the interface will be very familiar with you if you use any sort of word editor before. You have all of your customizable font aspect, your stylizing aspects up top here. But here is where your form editor gets a little bit more flavor to it. So you have your different question aspects where you can have choice-based questions. And anytime you add a question, you can always revert it. So if I scroll down on my survey that I have here, I have it as a horizontal scale option. But if I wanted to make this into a drop-down option or a list box option, everything can be previewed from the interface itself. And also I can test logic before sending it out to individuals. And even if I didn't want it to be radio button based, maybe I just wanted to display the label and have everything can be edited on the fly. Now, also, if I wanted things to be horizontal, vertical layout, I can change this and see what would best suit my, suit my population. So this is a vertical checkbox option, but I can have it into a horizontal one. Again, you have your drop down, your list boxes, anything that suits your fancy, you can always come in here and also customize every aspect of this. You can also copy paste from a different editor and just link it to all of the different options you have within your question editors. Now, apart from just scale options, you also have comment boxes. You can have numeric-based options as well, where your end users input a numeric value as a response. And this can be both a spin box, or you can have slider mechanisms. You can also have commitment-based things. So if you are giving this out to, say, student groups for them to run their survey for event organization, things like date, time, and commitment can be added to this, where you can see frequency of what is the most suitable time for students or committee members to attend. You also have predefined scale options here as well. So just coming in here, this is a 5-point scale option. But I'm just going to check here. So I have a scale option here. I'll put in a scale option actually. So inputting a scale option or inputting anything is very simple. It'll just ask me to put in a question title here. Now you have some predefined scale options, but you can always change it. We have a lot of predefined options. So maybe if you wanted to use a 7-point scale instead, or a level of consideration based on your questionnaire, you can also create custom scale options, which you can load for ease of use later on the line as well. So it'll dynamically configure, and you can also move the slider along and everything will dynamically filter as well. Now, there are a couple more options as well. So you can have ranking options for different questions that you ask. You also have media upload. Now, your media upload of responses allows allows whoever your end user to do is upload a document as a media-based response, have images-based, audio-based, and also insert a video as a response to the survey. And of course, in terms of survey design, you can insert links, videos, images. You can insert images within your scale options as well. You can customize your interface with custom grids and custom areas. And I'll show you some of that in some sample surveys that I have. You can also input variables, so using your demographics to personalize the survey to your end users. We'll get into this part here, but you can also include charts and options from previously run surveys to create reports or real-time reports for any of your end users to check current statuses as well. And I'll show you some of these chart options in one of the samples. And also in terms of your logic, mentioned some of them before, you have your show, hide, randomize, you have piping logic, repeat until questions, branching or forking logic as well. And also you can have A/B testings where you can have multiple aspects of the same survey, but distributed to different populations just to see a difference in responses. Now, what does this all look like when I go to preview or when I want to test out all of this? Well, some of the possibilities of what you can do within BlueX. Right? So I mentioned to you before, something like a blog post or an interactive channel, which you can pre-prepare for in-class discussions or topics that you're currently conducting within your lecture. You can also input aspects or aspects from blog posts as well, where you can give a brief about what it talks about, but you ask the students for their feedback to understand their learning capabilities. You can have test your knowledge sections. And this is where you also include where you would use the custom grid or the custom aspects to really personalize this interface to show multiple areas within a single view. Now, this can be for anything. So you can hide this and then show this based on a date timestamp. So if you're doing multiple sessions over a period of a semester, you can have a single survey go out at a point in time. Maybe 2 weeks later, you can schedule another survey on a different topic to go out. And again, all of these are customizable. So if you wanted your responses to be based on images that they have, and this is also a good use case for custom custom responses where students can upload, for example, a picture of the drones that they're using for their studies or practical assessments. If you're doing a research article on electric cars, again, you can put in information, have a test your knowledge section, and also have qualitative feedback based on that. Now, if you're doing this for student populations, students groups can use it in any which way. So this is just previewing the survey that I showed you before. Again, how interested are you? This really helps gauge or helps student groups gauge interest in various events that they would like to run throughout the semester, how often, what genres, example, students are interested in, to really focus in on what the student groups, the student population, anyone that signed up to this really want and how they can cater for it with different events that your student groups organize. Now, something more on the student population or student services. Maybe you're doing a new student orientation evaluation survey, right? You can have a required thing saying this is an on-campus survey, and then everything will be gathered for or piped in based on your example. So there's also a test of A/B surveys if you have that demographic information. So people who have done an online orientation will get a different survey versus students who've done an on-campus orientation will get a different survey. Now, you can also embed images as well. So based on the presenter that has selected, if they click it, you can also bring in the presenter's image as well and ask specific questions about them. Another aspect is of the residential survey or the housing experience. So the first question is kind of a baseline, right? So maybe I have attended or resided in Saint-Denis House. Now, when I do this, everything will be based on my experience within Saint-Denis House itself, right? So again, you have different scale options, which you can do. You can always preview this. And for example, if you wanted to test your survey out on different devices, how would it look like? By default, it's on a responsive aspect. But if I wanted to change it to, say, a mobile pro experience, it'll automatically show you what that would look like on a mobile phone as well. Let's just go back to responsive. And also from a preview option, you can send a test survey to collaborators or anyone within your team to actually test out logic options as well before sending it out to your actual population. Just showed this. Now, a couple of things I wanted to show you in terms of the reporting aspect. Now, before I go into the actual survey-based reporting aspect, I wanted to show you what you can do within the widgets aspect within it. So I have I have a survey here, which was a new employee onboarding experience survey. So again, you can see email status, how many have been sent, what are currently pending, a timeline of your responses over time since launch and how far it's going. So you can track your email campaign. You also have analytics, which you can choose to turn on. So you can see what browsers, devices, operating systems that your respondents are using as well. Now, based on if this is an open survey or if it's an invite-based survey, you can go into the task management section and you can edit, reset, unsubmit surveys based on your needs as well. You can also fully anonymize these surveys. And here's where, so if this is something more central, that's if the data sits within your team, you can create a widget-based report. And it's very simple to do. So for example, I can go and click on a new widget. I just have to select what type of widget option. Is it more of a descriptive statistics, data table, or is it quantitative data? So I'll click on descriptive statistics. You also have an option of the chart type as well. Now it asks you for your source data. This is just going to bring up all of the questions that you're asking. So I'm just going to select one of them and all of the choice options that I have. And then you can further break this down by respondent demographics to go more granular in your data collection. So I have my respondent demographics here, and maybe I'll choose country for this. And I'm going to add all the choices. And it's as simple as that for creating a widget. Now, I'll just show you some examples. So if you wanted frequency-based distribution, and you can organize this, if you wanted percentage-based, count-based, you can also have a tabular form that's broken down within it. So this is one aspect of, a question broken down by different countries. You also have heat map analysis as well, if you wanted to view your data in that sort. And again, you can have respondents by, broken down by country. It can also be a percentage. And this is, something that I just made right now. And I can always edit this on the fly. And instead of a horizontal bar chart, maybe I wanted a pie chart instead. And I will make this into a large one if I can. But these are all hover over statistics as well. So you can break down both to see the frequency count and also all of your scale options from where. So this is broken down by country. What you can also do is take these aspects, and of course you have a function to copy this to a clipboard. So in case you're using your data for PowerPoint presentations, you can copy this to a clipboard and directly paste it into your PowerPoint presentations. But you can also go one step further as well. So I just showed you an example of orientation and housing experience surveys. Maybe you wanted to combine the results of both of these surveys and present a comprehensive report on it. So again, you can have a report overview section detailing out what this data was collected, the population, what are the key findings that you've experienced, and then you can also format or pipe in the population of the students that you've collected this data from. And this is a preview. I can also let me just go back. Instead of a preview, I will show you an actual survey. So I'll go into my workspaces here. And just go into the reporting aspect. Right. Turns out I don't have the data for this, but this should still give you a good preview of what can be shown. So you can include data or charts from various aspects. And then based on the responses that you have collected on your other surveys, this will be piped in terms of frequency distribution, your key strengths that you've observed. You can also have advanced statistics as well for your mean, median, standard deviation, your variance as well, and also the number of respondents. You can also break down all of your various aspects as well, and use your custom grids to your advantage. So you can create various types of report because you're building it on a clean interface and you're actually building all of these reports from scratch, but also combining results from multiple surveys that you have received. And then you can have conclusion page, and also you can also ask feedback from the report viewers as well. So you can view the data and also say a ranking summary of, what are your thoughts on the improvements that you would make from an orientation aspect and from the housing improvement aspect, and also provide additional comments based on the results that you've received. So all of this data, even though run by different teams, you can collect all of that data centrally, report on that data centrally, but also close that feedback loop within the people that are involved within the survey process. Now, I will pause here very briefly before I just move on. Tim, if I could ask you, have there been any questions that I can answer before
There have been,
we
Joe.
move? Okay.
There's a few questions here. So the first
Mhm.
one is we're currently engaged with another vendor for ad hoc user-driven surveying. What tools can you provide us in transitioning to your service to retain research and other activities? So maybe I might just address that one.
Mhm.
Specifically, we would scope that with you to make sure that we've captured your needs and that we are going to be delivering exactly what you need. So that's something that we would consult with you on directly. The second question is BlueX cognizant of LMS-derived student cohorts?
Yes, they are. Now, we have an inbuilt connector with Canvas. So if you're using Canvas, it's the easiest integration of that. So your student cohorts, your student groups, everything that's built into your LMS can all be ported in to BlueX. Now, with other learning management systems like Blackboard or Moodle, we can use system webhooks for that, for your student cohorts for that. But we are in the process of building the same integrator for the other learning management systems as well.
Can the user permissions be based off Azure AD group membership and updated at login?
Absolutely. Same SSO credentials and login. So actually what's fascinating with Blue, especially if you're using any other Explorance services, is that it uses the same Blue Next platform. So you don't have to do a reintegration. It will be based off the Azure and AD groups that you have with any other Explorance tools that you use. But if you're not using any Explorance tool, absolutely it can be based off the AD groups and memberships that you have on your IBP platform.
Are the response or report areas bound by templates or theme settings? Can I set these themes to our institution palette?
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's a great question. So these can be bound by templates. So if I create a new survey, you can have, or you have some predefined templates that are already there, and then you can also create institutionally branded templates as well. And this can be for your reporting needs. It can be for your services needs. So you can be as centralized or decentralized that you want. But all of your predefined templates, my templates that I share with any stakeholders, user groups, respondents, or even groups that I set within within BlueX, I can define templates that can only be accessed by certain user groups.
That's all good questions so far, Joe.
Excellent. All right. If there's more questions, please keep putting them in. Now, I just wanted to recap a little bit about what we have spoken about. So let me just go back into that and just have to flick through a little bit. So we spoke about permissions and access. So, you know, before we wrap up, I just want to show you a little bit more about the area, or just recap what we just spoke about, because it often changes how people think about BlueX and what it can be used for. So we've talked about surveys today. We talked about your core use cases as well, but the platform goes well beyond that. So on forms on the operational side, you can do things like satisfaction surveys, research instruments, intake forms, request forms, event feedback, and that those are kind of fairly standard survey templates that you would use in a typical scenario. But where it gets more interesting is where you have that interactive capability. So you can publish branded newsletters, which we just saw, internal communications with embedded questions or prompts. Which I should also mention, if you are sending email communications or inviting users to BlueX surveys, you can embed your first question, for example, within the email content itself. And once they answer that, it'll pipe in their response and bring them to the survey itself. So, instead of sending out separate announcements or sending out separate surveys to gauge reaction, it's one piece of content that you have to create. You can also use it for policy reviews and acknowledgement workflows, planning and committee notes, process walkthroughs. All of these things are what institutions are currently handling through a combination of things like emails, Word documents, Excel files, and manual follow-ups internally between different teams. And a little bit about from a reach teaching tools perspective, we saw today you can have knowledge checks, formative feedback, micro assessments, um, learning reflections, that you would do for your, and these are more use cases for your learning designers. Your faculty will recognize immediately what is currently being solved, and it's all, you know, uh, currently how instructors are running this is through forums or discussion channels within the LMS. So this creates a more central interactive experience for both staff and students. So the platform itself is designed to be governed for all of these different moments, not just a formal survey program, but the full breadth of your institution, how your institution listens, communicates, and we're here to help in terms of how we guide you in terms of achieving all of these goals. But you don't have to take my word for it. In the lead up to our Explorance World conference, which is going to be held in Boston in June, we're also doing a spotlight session that it's going to be run on Explorance World, but they were kindly enough to also do a webinar as well. So SUNY Polytechnic is an institute just last week. They presented a webinar, which you can watch the recording now. So if you want to scan the QR code and save the link to watch later, it features their creative approach to assessments and surveys using BlueX and showcasing the real world examples of how moving beyond your fragmented tools can bring a more connected, flexible, and human-centered feedback approach to it. So this brings me to the end of our session today, and I really want to thank you all genuinely for your time. I hope you've taken away a concrete picture of what BlueX can do and how it could fit alongside Blue in your existing portfolio, and what a realistic path to adoption looks like. So if you have more questions, than when you started, that's fine. Probably means we've covered enough to have a real conversation afterwards as well. But if you have any questions, please feel free to use the Q&A channel for now. I'll do my best to answer all of these questions. And if there's anything that you'd like to continue this discussion after today as well, Tim and my contact details are on screen now. So please save this, follow up with us, and we'll be happy to answer your questions, give you a tailored demonstration, and maybe also for you to use the platform yourself.
There has been a question come in about if the session was recorded and will be available. And yes, indeed, it has been recorded, and we will make sure we share that with you.
Yes, we'll give this task to Owen. Owen will send out the recording to you after the session for you to watch it at your leisure.
Okay, so with that, there's no further questions. So thank you all for attending. And as Arjun said, feel free to reach out to us with your questions directly. Our contact details are on screen. And thank you all for your participation, and looking forward to seeing you at the next webinar. Thank you all.
Thank you.